Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. Today we're having a quick look at some figures from CSM. This is going to give us an indicative feel to the quality of CSM figures. Yes, hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. We're looking at CSM figures today. So I've bought a couple to go with the armoured car that I've recently done a first impressions video of. And what I wanted to do today was just focus on what you get when you buy into their figures, what the quality is like, because they have quite a range of figures in different scales that complement the models they sell. So air crew and land crew for their armoured cars, and some of the figures can be a bit unusual. So you've got Belgian armoured car, for example, so they might do figures specifically for that armoured car. They're not overly expensive for resin figures. These were about £18 each. And as you can see, they just come like that. And I bought them straight off the CSM website. I bought them with a couple of kits, and they put them in this Ziploc bag and then put the Ziploc bag inside one of the kits. And you can see the bag's got quite tatty because there's quite a lot of sharp parts on there. So let's take a look. We've got, I'll just make sure that we don't mix them up. So first thing I want to do is just have a look at the little bits that were loose in the bag, because I'm not sure whether they are parts or not, and I don't think they are. That's definitely not, that's sprue block. Right, so what we get is a body and legs with both of these, a separate head and separate arms, which just allows them to cast them. And when I look at the body first, try and make sure that's in shot. So when I look at the body first, I'm going to start at the feet. The shoe has been done nicely. There's no detail underneath on the sole, so but you know, that's the part you're going to have on the ground, isn't it? So you're not going to see that, but some people do the detail on the shoe underneath of the shoes as well. There is not really a visible seam, so there's no sort of mold seam that you've got to scrape off particularly, so that is handy. And the shoe detail is nice. We can see individual laces and lace holes, and there's natural looking creases in the shoe. I will take some close-up pictures of these for you. As we go up, we've got the bound legging there, which all looks natural and nice. Possibly a little bit too heavy, but it gives you the right feel and appearance. And then when we get to the trousers, natural nice creases in there as well. A tiny amount of cleanup. There's a bit of sort of loose debris knocking around that you need to just tidy up. I'm just going to get my knife. I just want to check something out. Yeah, so a little bit of scraping just to create some smoothness in the lines. There is no air bubbles that I can see, so that is great. Then when we go up to the jacket, again, all the crease folds look natural. We can clearly see the buttons. We can see the jacket's being pulled by the buttons, so it's been very, very carefully done. Very nice, actually. And we can see pocket lines. We can see hems and seams. Yeah, really nice. There's one or two places where we've got little indentations, which is not part of the it's come from the casting rather than the mold. So there's a little tiny bit of filler there, and here at the front that needs to go in, but it is very, very tiny. We then have, believe it or not, a gap. So where the collar is, there's like a scarf, and there is actually a gap. You'll need to just sharpen it up a little bit, but there is a gap there. So you will be able to see the neck through there. So painting the head separately is definitely the way to go. We'll test fit of that as best we can in a minute. So we've got this scarf that's wrapped round. That also, the fall of that looks natural. We've got tassels which have been well depicted, and then we've got this pistol slung over the shoulder. Again, a little bit of cleanup just here, but we can see a nice little buckle there. Strap falls naturally, and yeah, that all looks good. Belt looks good. Belt buckle is nice and sharp. We can see the termination of the belt, quite often something that miraculously disappears, but we can see that. So that is very nice indeed. So as we can see, the arms are attached using these quite hefty big pins. Now I like that because one of the issues I quite often have with resin figures is not having a positive lock. So I'm just going to put that in. So I can see that fits perfectly already because they've put the casting block actually on the arm. So where the mould goes together, there's some hair that keeps returning for some reason. You can see we snap these casting blocks off or remove them very carefully, scrape them out. That's where your seam would be. But so there is a little bit of seam visible on this one, just on that underside. But again, all the folds look nice. He's got gloves on in this instance. By the looks of it, yeah, it looks like a glove. I think it's a glove. Yeah, definitely glove. It's got creases in. Yeah. And I'll get a better view when we put a primer on it, but it does look a little bit like there's a little bit of cleanup on there. Just a little bit of sanding down. And it's the same on here. We've got quite a heavy bit of seam, so we do have a little bit of reworking to do on this arm. So you can see there's a lip, just where I am there, and the crease sort of steps up. So mould has just slipped a little bit, possibly. But yeah. So just a little bit of tidying up. It's just scrape it back into shape. It's not too bad actually. I've seen worse. So let's just test the fit of this because there's nothing impeding it, so we should be able to put that one in. Yeah, the fit of this one's not as good as the first arm. The first arm made complete contact with the jacket. This has got a little bit of a gap, so a little bit of modification needed. I'm guessing, depends on how you're posing it. Now this one, as I remember, was stood up, and you can see his arms are resting on something. So I think that was resting on the edge of the, stood inside, holding onto the edge of the armoured car. So, and certainly the glove hands out. So I seem to think he was a driver. I don't fully remember. And then we've got this head. Now the casting block has been done on the bottom of the neck here, so we won't get that in without a bit of cleanup, but we'll have a go. You can see he's got like a balaclava on, and a really quite nice facial expression. So let's just pop him in and see what happens. Yeah, he goes in okay actually. Yeah, that looks really quite good, and I could see the neck passing through the gap, so we clean that up. We'll have to be careful. I might just slim down the back a little bit so that we're not pushing the paint off as we put the neck in, but that goes in really quite nicely. Yeah, so let's just put his arms back in and give you a final impression. So there you go. Nice looking character to stand with our vehicle. Like I say, I'll find the picture off the website of what it's supposed to look like. There is no paint instructions with either of these figures, so you're going to have to work that out for yourself. So that's the first one. So let's just have a look at our second one. So second guy, this guy's a little bit more animated. So it's the same idea, different uniform arrangement, slightly more casual looking, but yeah, he's definitely looking the part. He's got a scarf on too, so he's in keeping with the weather of the other figure, which is nice. And what we can see, starting at the boots, nice crisp boots with very visible boot laces, natural creases. That all looks good. If anything, they're a little bit crisper than the other guys. There is a small, where there's a crease here at the top of the boot. There's like a wrap going around the top of the boot and the bottom of the trousers. There's just a little hole there, which just needs just something to blanket out so it doesn't look like it's going too far in. So a tiny amount of putty just in the bottom there. But yeah, you can see all the laces on that really nicely as well. Again, same comment, there's a little bit of seam we can see there. Gentle scrape will get that out. A little bit of tidy up of any lumps or bumps. I find priming it helps with that. We can see there's some seam here for clean up. So a little bit more clean up on this one than the other figure, but nothing that you wouldn't expect with a resin figure. Just tidying up stuff really. There's possibly, again, won't know until we prime it, but there's possibly a small air bubble there. And you can see this, in this crease here, there's another, it's just a little bit too deep, so we just need to raise the bottom of that a little bit. Then there's a jersey that he's wearing, which has got quite a nice natural gathering of the jersey. The hang looks right. And then that goes into something over the top. It almost looks like a sailor, but he's not. So yeah, again, you're going to have to do your own research on uniform colours. The scarf, again, looks very nice. No gap this time. Nice, clearly defined tassels. And then we've got one arm which has got a very nicely done hand with a cigarette, a natural pose. Yeah, cigarette I think looks more like a cigar, to be honest. It's a little bit chunky. You might want to just nip that off and replace it with a thin bit of wire. It is a little bit chunky, but that's the limitation of the mould. We can see the moulding block at the back, just here. So a little bit of clean up once you take that off. But again, we should be able to try this arm and see what it looks like in. So that's quite a nice natural pose. It fits okay. Again, a little bit of putty possibly, or I might need to just sand the peg down just to get a nice close fit. The other arm is holding some form of cup, so a coffee cup or similar, and the arm looks natural. If I hold it by its block, you can see the arm looks really quite nice. The hand position is right. There's nothing in the cup, but that doesn't mean you can't get something in there. Yeah, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of cleanup needed on this one, to be honest. There's always a little bit, and yeah, a little bit there, but it's minor stuff. It's just scraping and smoothing it into shape. So let's try that arm. So that goes in nicely. So let's see if we can get both arms in. There you go. So he's holding his cup, holding his cigarette. He's definitely on some downtime for a moment, isn't he? So let's have a look at the head now. So the head's got one of those hats with a bobble on. It's not quite a beret, but and This chap is sporting a rather magnificent moustache. So you can, I don't know whether you can see, but I'll take some close-ups. Some nice moustache with a bit of handlebar action going on. Very nice. And a deep brow to go with it. So he certainly looks like the military type. Ears are well depicted. Hair is well done. There is a seam at the back, so we're going to have to clean up the back of his head. So this is obviously the location pin, but here just gets a bit chunky, so we're going to have to thin that down and probably redefine the hair a little bit at the back. But the detail is really nice. So let's just try the head, see if it fits. It may or may not. No, it doesn't quite go in. But yeah, let's just shove his arms back on and give you a feel for the completed figure. Oh, there you go. That's a really nice natural stance. So we've got a nice little scene there with the armoured car and a couple of figures. So yeah, very nice. So again, let's just sum up. I'll take some photographs. You can see those at the end. Right now, what do I think? I've certainly seen worse resin figures. I've got to honestly say I've also seen better. But once you get them painted, they will look fine. Cleanup is minimal. There is some, that always is with resin figures, but it doesn't look too bad at all. The poses are natural. The hang of the garments is natural. I think they look really nice. They fit in with what CSM have done with their models, which is also great. So plus side is you've got something that works well with the models that you bought from CSM, so you're not looking around for something that might do. You know that they work. That's the highlight. I think they're well put together, well thought through. Low light, no painting instructions for the uniform, which would be really, really helpful. But otherwise, I think they're great. So there's also no references on the website about colours. You just see pictures of the built-up figures, pretty much as you see here, unpainted. So there you go. These are two French figures actually, but they will suit what I need to do. So yeah, I think they're a great little figure. They're not overly expensive. They're €13. I said £18. They're €13, so about £11.50 thereabouts. So that's a good price. I think you can pay some silly money for resin figures. So given the cost, I think these are brilliant actually. So I really like them. Hope that was useful. You now understand what the figures look like and what you get if you buy into them. It's just the basic figure and the rest of it is down to you. Okay, thanks for looking in. Take care and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.